Caid's Chatelaine, Baron Giles Hill. And pulling double duty this week, featuring a live performance by yours truly. And just in case you've forgotten, I'm your announcer, Master Beorn of the Northern Sea. And here's your host, Master Laertes McBride.
Good evening, everyone. How are y'all doing? Oh my gosh, we've almost made it to the end of May. So it's a good deal. Well, a couple of quick announcements, and then we'll bring Beorn on, and then we'll get to talk to Giles. So as a reminder, I'm sure most of you are aware, the Kingdom and the SCA will be reopening on June 1st, which is a lot sooner than you think it is. And as part of that, for our June 7th show, so 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to have their Majesties on to talk about the reopening of the Kingdom. We'll also be speaking with the Kingdom Seneschal and the Kingdom Exchequer, because that's excitement, to talk about what's going on in the Kingdom moving forward and what the next few months look like for us. Because, of course, in July, on July 10th, we will have Coronation in the Barony of Wintermist. On Sunday, the 18th, we're having Queen's Champion for Ranged Weapons in the Barony of Altavia. And then on the 24th of July, we'll have the rest of the Queen's Champion Martial events in the Barony of Gildenhold. And of course, looking a little bit farther out, things are starting to spin up for Great Western War in October. So we'll be talking to the stewards as we approach that event. And also, the Gulf Wars stewards have reached out to us. For those who are interested in attending that, we'll be setting up an interview with them probably towards the end of August when they've locked everything in. They would want to speak about what precautions and arrangements they're setting up for their war too. So we have a lot of stuff coming up. I think that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and bring in Beorn and see how Beorn's doing. He'll be here right about now. Hey, Beorn.
Hello, Laertes.
You look like, when I bring you on screen, you look like one of those Hall of Presidents the little animatronics.
I never did get the yellow versus blue light situated in my room. I'm gonna have to work on that some more. I think I'm not quite as technically advanced as I thought, but I'm doing much better after the surgery. I'm actually mostly upright and just one out of the 6 places they stabbed me remains, so everything else is pretty much good. So not bad.
That's great. Yeah, and I would say for the cinephiles out there, we look like a Michael Mann movie. All my scenes are yellowish and yours are all bluish, so you know who you're focusing on by the color scheme. That's enough down that well. So anyway, let's talk about what's coming up for us. I kind of pointed it out. In 2 weeks, we're going to have their Majesties on to talk about the reopening of the Kingdom. Well, a couple of other special features that we're going to do to celebrate the reopening and things moving forward. But for next week, it's Memorial Day. We're going to be taking next week off. But our promise to you, not you, Beorn, but people watching, is that we are going to have original content on those weeks. We're just not going to be live in this kind of format. So next week, we're going to be kind of featuring a behind-the-scenes look of what it takes to put this show together on a weekly basis. So if you're interested on how the heck we get this on the air, even though it looks like we kind of slapped it together last minute, we're going to have a look at that. And then in June and July, we'll be taking off a couple of weeks. But again, we're going to have some original content for you because, hey, it's summer and we've got stuff to do. Bardic War. So Bardic War's over. It ended yesterday, I believe, right?
Yes, indeed.
And as you saw,
final ceremonies was had. They did wait until the very last moment to tally up the last 6 points of the war. It was nail biting for 2 of the 3 alliances.
And did they extinguish the flame and then pass it on at the end of it? Is that what happened at the? No.
I'm not sure if a flame is extinguished, or I think the proper term from a medieval standpoint is turfed down.
Turfed down. I'm not even going to comment on that one. So let's turn to our special guest from Bardic War so they can update us. Oh, that's right. They didn't get back with us. So I guess if you want to find out how Bardic War went, you need to go to their website because the person that was supposed to speak to us never got back. That's weird. Anyway.
You know, I believe I've said it before. As a bard, there's that story. You hear that idiom, the phrase about herding cats.
Right.
We know that it happens in the SCA all the time. It's, oh, this group of people's herding cats, or I'm running lists. It's like herding cats, or what have you. I think that in this particular instance, it's more like herding cats with laser beams on their heads on fire. Because in a situation like that, the very best outcome is you're going to smell like smoke. So that's the best outcome. So I totally understand if they didn't quite get to where we were, since there's a very good chance they still had to pat out the last bits of flame. So
sure.
I'm sure
anyway,
go on to Bardic War and find out who won. The Western Alliance bravely took third. And so for our people, I say to you, we can only go up.
That's true. So, so what do you have for us this week for arts and science?
Thank you very much for asking. There are two things we're going to talk about. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is there's been a plethora of really great podcasts and websites that we have been showing everybody for the last year and plus. And some of them are on Spotify, and some of them are on Apple Plus, and some of them are on Stitcher. And I cannot even begin to cover them all. But every so often, a podcast just kind of breaks through and really gets attention. And one of the ones that I wanted to talk about is available in various different places, but where I found it was on the Stitcher. And it is the podcast called Tides of History. Tides of History is fantastic. They have all kinds of things. They run the gamut from Neolithic prehistory all the way to this most recent election and Brexit. So they are covering as big a gamut as a gamut can gam. But the one that I really enjoyed, the one that I found most interesting, and once again, thanks to the Honorable Lady Avicia for bringing this to my attention, is this one is called Achilles, Gilgamesh, and Epic Poetry, with an interview from Professor Michael Clark, who is a professor at the National University of Ireland at Galway. And it talks about the similarities in epic poems between Achilles, between the writings of the ancient Greeks and the writings of the Sumerians, not just Gilgamesh, but like the ancient writings, and how the hero's journey really started quite early in epic poetry. It is a fantastic podcast. And what I also like about the Stitcher website in general is that it tells you how many episodes a podcast has, and it tells you how long each podcast is. So if you're like, okay, let's look. This one in particular is 50 minutes long, and it is one of 123 episodes for Tides of History. So you can go, all right, let's spin through the Rolodex. Okay, I just really aged myself. Let's go through the list and see what things are of interest to me. All right, this one is 50 minutes. This one is 40. This one's an hour and a half. And you get a chance to really just look at all the cool things that you want to go over and research. And these are some of them seem as if they are cursory, but there really are some really fantastic deep dives. So the second thing I wanted to talk about, and this one might be important later, is the original pronunciation.com website. This one is definitely going to be specific to people who like to do OP versus RP. Let me explain briefly. So when we all went to see Shakespeare's plays, or when we heard Shakespeare sonnets being written, we heard it in what is called RP, or received pronunciation. And that is the pronunciation of a standard British dialect. But with the work of Professor Crystal, let me show you his book that I happen to have right here. So this is one of the books that he has wrote. This is an actual dictionary for original pronunciation. Hopefully that didn't blur out too much for you. But on this website, it talks about the accent that would have been used at the time. And it is fantastic. It really lets you go into depth. And you guys know that occasionally there's a Shakespearean couplet or something that comes along that you're reading it and you're going, that doesn't really rhyme to me. Well, no, in modern English, it probably didn't. But during the time of original pronunciation, during Shakespeare's time, at the Globe, with the King's Men, it definitely did. And so Professor Crystal goes into great detail about it. I had to immediately get the dictionary because original pronunciation is something that I really enjoy tremendously, and I would love to see more of it being performed in Shakespeare. The Globe down in our own barony of Calafia has utilized Professor Crystal's works before when they have done some things in original pronunciation. And so we're very fortunate that we have that so very close to a lot of us, or it's in Caid. And so hopefully when they reestablish their next season, there were talks of them doing at least one of the productions in original pronunciation. So I'm very excited for that. But those are the two websites for this week.
It's awesome. Bjorn, that's great that you have that, because you haven't really experienced Shakespeare until you've read it in the original Klingon. So I think that'd be great if that works for you.
I would not put the Globe in San Diego past doing an entire production in Klingon. They could. You totally know they could.
Right.
I think it'd be fantastic.
Speaking of fantastic, who's our first guest?
That is one heck of a segue, sir.
I have been working on it.
We have the Chatelaine of Chatelaines. We have the Kingdom of Caid Chatelaine himself. He is a member of the Order of the Laurel. He is a member of the Order of the Pelican. He is one of those really cool people who has done so many nifty things. It's really hard to describe all of them. It is Baron Giles Hill, and we are very fortunate to have him with us this evening.
All right, let's bring him on in. He'll be here right about now. Well, hello, Baron Giles.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I just want to say you're the guest with the shortest name that we've had on the show. So congratulations.
Well, it's an interesting thing. If you look at the broad sweep of naming practices, particularly in England, names were usually short and frequently locative or occupational. So first name, job name, or first name, place, or something like that. The whole enormous long
Little signal issue. We'll be just a second. He'll be back.
was the exception rather than the rule.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not surprised. So my graphics person appreciates your name. So anyway, before we get into the Chatelaine, for the three people in the kingdom that don't know you, how long have you been playing in the SCA, and did you start out in Caid?
In a manner of speaking, yes, I did start in Caid. The last year of high school, I was living in Bonita at the time. I was in Balboa Park and stumbled upon a tournament, which I think was one of the Norman Saxon enmity tournaments that were held many years ago in 1979. I got a copy of the Welcome to the Current Middle Ages broadside flyer.
This is where it pays to have a strong internet signal. Hold on.
Sorry, did I disappear for a moment?
Just a moment. So I swear we tested this too. So
sorry, froze up there.
And you're back. You're back. Try.
Yeah.
So yes, sir.
How far did we get?
Oh, yes. You were given the guide to the current Middle Ages.
Yes. So, and a short.
Man.
Hesitation when I was able to scrape together the, I think, $14 required to join the society at that time, and got that sent off, I couldn't quite figure out what kingdom I was in. I was getting the south wind from Apenvelt for several months, and finally in distress, I wrote to Clevedon, who was registrar at the time, to ask if there weren't any events closer to me. And she said, "Oh, you're getting the wrong newsletter. You should be getting Unstiora's newsletter," which meant that I could find out about events that were only 6 hours away from me, as opposed to events that were 10 or 12 hours away. So I effectively joined in 1979. I started a chapter on my college campus, which I am proud to say is still in existence, now a barony, which fills me with a little pride. So I guess that means, what, 38 years, 39 years, something like that? A long time.
Yeah, we won't test you on math because
anyway.
And we actually crossed paths in Onstiora.
Did we?
Ago. Yes, you were at a Steps event, so long ago and far away.
Steps is a fabulous place to visit. I don't mean that in a negative way. They're great people.
Yeah. Anyway, that's where I started. So this is the product of the Steps. So enjoy it or not. So you're the Chatelaine for the kingdom. Could you explain to people what it means to be the Chatelaine?
I'd be happy to. It means you are the lady in charge of welcoming people. Chatelaine is a gendered term. The masculine equivalent is Castellan, but I just changed the way that the SCA named its officers, and just went with the accepted job title. So Chatelaine is just the person charged with facilitating newcomers' entry to the organization.
Right. It's also known by like the Gold Key or something like that, right?
Usually refers to the collection of costumes that are available for borrowing, sometimes held by the Chatelaine, but sometimes not.
Okay. And so, well, then do you have deputies at a kingdom level for the position?
I don't have any kingdom level deputies, but all of the baronies and many of the shires have their own Chatelaine officer who is responsible for facilitating that activity in their local group.
Right. So, like, like demos. Do they come to you to demos because that's reaching out to new people, or is there an office for that, or how's that work?
I believe that most of the territorial groups have a demo officer.
Right.
Generally, a demo officer would be kind of a push to get people involved. The Chatelaine is kind of a pull to get people involved. So I consider that my responsibilities start at the event to which someone has come for the first time. I often look for a thing that person is interested in, whether it's fighting or archery or brewing or embroidery or whatever, and then find someone at the event who I know has an interest in that particular arena and facilitate the introduction and give the already present expert the idea that they're now in charge of helping this person figure out what's what, and then I step back. I try to have contact information available to hand to a newcomer so they have something in their hands to take home if they don't get something from the person that I introduced them to. But I see that facilitation of an interpersonal connection as really the first step in keeping someone who's interested in the SCA.
So does your office provide like templates or materials that the local areas could use for Chatelaine?
The society office has a number of resources that are available for download, and those are available to anyone, not just people who are holding an office at the particular moment. We've done some discussions about making stuff available to Caidan Chatelaines, like a business card for their local area that has the contact information for the marshal and the herald and the minister of arts and sciences and the archery deputy and stuff. And also making some easily displayed signage that could go next to a sidewalk at an event that says, this is the Society for Creative Anachronism and the Barony of Altavia, and some web addresses, and ask anyone if you have questions, or something along those lines. So those are the two things that we're looking at available for Caid.
Okay, and okay, so as we're getting ready to reopen, right, in a couple of weeks, I would think, like at regular events or at practices, we would have people come up and express interest on the what's going on, and we would give them information and stuff. And I believe I was reading for the reopening that we have to like even control the entryway to the event, or at least towards gate, so to kind of keep it controlled. So are there some challenges that that the Chatelaine office is ready to face for when we open, for guidance?
I like to think that we are all ready to deal with whatever we may encounter. Certainly having a stack of brochures at the gate, wherever it happens to be set up, is a good idea. Caid is different from most other kingdoms in that our primary venue for events is the public park. And by virtue of its nature, we cannot control access to that space. So newcomers can come from any direction and probably will not go through the gate. They don't know. If I see something interesting happening off in the distance, my first instinct is not to look for the admission table. It's to get as close as I can to whatever I'm interested in and ask somebody what's going on.
Right. Right. So, but I would imagine perhaps there's some hesitancy with people coming up or taking stuff that is handed to them, given the pandemic we're emerging from. So, do we have to be a little bit more cognizant of that hesitancy when we're talking with people? You know, not going to go up and shake their hand and stuff, right?
But we have an automatic replacement for that particular behavior. We can bow or curtsy.
Right, right.
Or both. I don't know if it would really be worthwhile trying to mandate how individuals interact with other individuals. Given all the hubbub that surrounds the "have you been vaccinated" and "why aren't you wearing a mask" questions, I am reluctant to stick my toe into that particular whirlpool.
Right. Okay, so it sounds like that, and you correct me because you often do, that you know, basically it's like business as usual, right? And just be aware, be welcoming, connect people with what they're interested with, and you know, let's try to creep towards that normalcy of how it used to be, and how it was before we went through the past. Right?
I think that's an accurate summary. From the viewpoint of my office, there has just been some months that we didn't have events. And when we start having events again, I will certainly expect anyone who's a warranted Chatelaine to be present and be available to people who have questions or want more information. I don't see that changing at all.
Great. Well, I've run out of my questions, so I'm going to have much better questions for you from Beorn. So I'm going to step away for a moment, and he'll be right here.
Once again, thank Your Excellency for being with us this evening. If you wouldn't mind, could you let newer people know how they might work with the Chatelaines office, how they could be like unofficial ambassadors, or even how can they pursue the office of Chatelaine themselves? The new people, what can they do to prepare themselves?
Well, let me first say that I very much appreciate the opportunity to be here. Uh, Live from Caid is, I believe, the very first of the SCA programs that have made their way into the net. And this is a remarkable tool that someone can, from the comfort of their own easy chair, be connected with performers and teachers and officers and fighters from across the known world is just amazing. And I think that Live from Caid has trailblazed in this arena. And I want to offer you both my heartfelt congratulations and thanks for the work that you have done on this program.
Thank you so
now
much.
I can't remember a thing that I was going to say. You were asking about how newcomers or how relatively new members can get engaged in the work of the Chatelaines office.
Yes, thank
and
you.
the answer is relatively simple. You have to be friendly. When you ask people what one thing keeps them coming back to the SCA over the course of years, the answer always, in my experience, is my friends. That's where my friends are. That's where my family of choice is. And if the relatively new member of the SCA sees someone standing off, looking intently at whatever is going on, and kind of with that, golly, I wish somebody would talk to me attitude, just go over and strike up a conversation and be their friend. It's just that simple. And frankly, I think every member of the SCA ought to be acting like a Chatelaine. They ought to be looking for people who have just shown up and who want connections and want to be involved with what it is that we are doing. And that's really all the Chatelaine does, is facilitate someone's entry into this community that we have built and that we love and that we want other people to be part of.
Thank you so much. The second question I have is, so how do you personally, Giles Hill, and this you might have just already answered it, but it was a question. How do you, sir, continue to enjoy this space, the Caid, the SCA, and continue to want to work as Chatelaine and be an ambassador for so many things, the SCA, Caid, Blue Feather, all the things that you do and all the things that you serve? How do you continue to remain animated about it?
There's an old saying that if you don't feel happy, you put on a happy face. And that has some parallels to the answer to your question, because it is absolutely true that some Saturday mornings, all I want to do is go sit on my couch and read the paper and pet the cat. I do not want to load all of the stuff into the vehicle and schlep an hour and a half and haul it onto the event site and put it all up. I'm not enthusiastic about that part. But I have found that if I say, all right, well, I said I would be there, so I'm going to be there, and I go act happy and I act like I'm enjoying myself, pretty soon I am happy and I am enjoying myself. One of the things that keeps me coming back is the people, quite frankly. I talked a few moments ago about people keep saying that it's their friends that keep them in the SCA. And that is the case with me as well. My closest friends, my dearest comrades, the love of my life, I found them all because of the SCA. And it is their presence and their enthusiasm and their joy that makes me want to continue to be part of this organization.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel very similar myself. So I understand. I've one final question, and then Laertes gets to inflict our trivia game on you. When as people start in the SCA, they may not necessarily have the disposable income to do the thing or to present the way they would like to present within the SCA, whether it be period shoes or a pavilion or a full suit of plate or whatever. When a newer person comes to you and asks an opinion about what do you think they should start to focus on, because that's such a loaded question, do you have a like a standard, well, get some period shoes, or, well, do you have a standard question, or do you try to tailor it to the individual who asks that question? And if you have a general one, what might it be?
What an interesting question. I think that when someone says, what do I do first? How do I get engaged in this thing that I find so interesting? My answer is just start doing it. If what you're interested in is embroidery, then I'm going to suggest finding a piece of cloth and some embroidery floss and a needle and someone else who's embroidering and say, teach me what you're doing. When I joined the SCA, I certainly did not have period shoes, and I certainly did not have a wardrobe of 25 different suits that I could play mix and match with. I attended my first SCA event in a puffy sleeved shirt and blue hose. I didn't even have shoes my first event. You do what you can. If someone has a specific need for a thing, like period shoes, and asks me how they get period shoes, then my instinct is to go find someone who I know has made shoes and introduce them and let them talk about how one acquires shoes. Personally, if someone says, I really need a goblet and I can't afford to buy one, I've got a buttload of goblets and I am thrilled to give one away. And if someone says, I really need a suit, and they're significantly smaller than I am, so they can't wear old clothes, I may offer them some kind of a bargain. I'll make you a tunic if you'll help me carry my stuff at the next event. So I think the SCA is really all about figuring out where it is you want to go and then taking that first step toward getting there. But there, other than having to have a helmet and a cup to start fighting, you can pretty much get started with just a pair of hands and some interest.
I want to thank you very much for answering that. I remember, gosh, when we first met at the first Known World Dance Symposium in the Barony of Axmore, you were in a very animated discussion with a whole gaggle of people, and you were talking about franchise. And I remember it was really wonderful because you had these Southerners who, by the nature of who they are mundanely, the manner in which they spoke to others it smacked of that courtesy, but there was something that they wanted to know more about authenticity and how to be authentic with franchise. And it was very matter of fact, very to the point. You weren't saying, oh, you're just putting on airs. You gave a wonderfully, thoughtfully reasoned response to the question. and then went on with the rest of your day. But those folks felt like they really had received pearls of wisdom. And I remember that conversation, even though, like I said, it's from, I think, 95. And once again, franchise is something you and I have talked about a great deal. And I appreciate you putting that on display and showing people how best to interact with newer people, to be the kind of person they would want to approach. And I wanted to thank you very much for approaching and broaching that subject with me this evening.
I am so happy that you have a favorable memory of that event. But I must tell you, I think it's 97 that the first Known World Dance Symposium was held, because that was when I met Giuseppe.
It was, you're right.
And,
it had just barely a vaccine in New Orleans. How, all the years I've been in New Orleans, they do kind of run together after a while. I will confess that. So,
yes, that is increasingly true as we become more vintage.
Indeed, sir. But at any rate, thank you again for answering the questions. I will turn you over to Laertes, and I appreciate your time very much.
My great pleasure, sir.
I noticed you complimented the show after I was off the screen, but thanks for the kind words.
It is the words of your visage that struck me dumb, and I could not speak to that topic until after you had removed your face from my screen.
I'll take it. So this is the part of the show where we play a little trivia game. And for you, there's actually going to be visuals, so you'll enjoy this because it's pictures. Hey, Beorn, what is the name?
His Excellency's game tonight is Unlock Your Potential.
Okay, so as we talked about, one of the deputies for the position is the Golden Key. So what I have a series of pictures of famous keys from, and not Batista, famous keys from movies and shows. And I want to see if you can identify them. And I can give you clues to see if that'll help. So let's bring the first one up. It's a little convoluted, but it makes sense to me. Okay, so this, do you have any idea which key this is?
Not the faintest clue.
Okay, it opens a secret tomb inside an Egyptian temple in this movie. And once inside the temple, our characters discover an ancient alien race's most powerful weapon and love. Any idea? No, it is not Harry Potter, Nico. Thank you very much. It is the Mondo Shawan tomb key from The Fifth Element, which is controversial because I despise that movie. Well, there you go. So don't get that for me for Christmas. Okay, so Stark is a good guess. Okay, second one. Any idea where this key's from?
Are all of these media kind of clues?
Pretty much. No. You'll get that.
Recognize it.
You probably. There's two out here. Okay, so this one is used. Oh, okay. After evading countless booby traps, the gang enters the bottom of a wishing well and believes it to be a dead end. But thanks to this key, they're able to unlock a secret door and continue their search for One-Eye Willie's treasure. Yeah, Nico is correct. It's from Goonies. That's okay. You'll be fine. How about you'll probably get this one from this.
That looks
Any idea
like
on this
the
one?
Key that was used on Durin's Day to open the back door of the Kingdom of Moria.
Yeah, you are correct. It's called the Key to Erebor.
Erebor, of course, being the mountain under which Moria was established.
I told you you'd get one. Yeah, we have one record holder that couldn't get anything. So I know. Okay, so here's one. Here's one you won't get. Do you recognize this one? It's from a series of films, actually.
Nope.
It is let's see. Okay, so Jack wants it. Will wants it. Creepy fish people want it. And it does unlock a chest that holds a still beating heart, which he actually cut out of himself.
Would that be Pirates of the Caribbean?
That is. And whose chest does that open?
Well, technically, it's a locker, I believe.
Oh, it's a locker. It would be a locker according to lore.
The captain's? The octopus guy?
Octopus guy, yeah, Davy Jones. See, I'll give you credit for that. Okay, so here's another one. Okay, so I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. Here you go. do you know this one?
That looks rather more like a pipe to me.
It is. It is indeed a pipe. That's also a key.
The key is with Charlotte.
It's from a movie that has a lot of fun puzzles and clues, which lead to more clues. And this pipe not only acts as a pipe, but also as an ink roller and a key. And it's made out of ivory. Nicolas Cage actually used it.
Is that the Declaration of Independence secret message on the back in Lemon Juice movie? National Treasure?
Yes. Yeah, it's what they call. Yes, it is. It's what they call me. Okay, so I'll give you credit for that one. Two more. Oh, notice he laughs hardest when I call myself a national treasure. Okay, so this next one, can you guess what this is from?
Harry Potter?
That is correct. It's from the first one, and these are the winged keys that they have to solve how to catch them.
Huh.
Okay, so there you go. So last one, I'll give you double bonus points if you can figure out this one, because I'd never seen it before. But, so this key actually helps solve a mystery. Okay, so I'll give you a clue. It actually opens an extremely high-tech safe, which leads two cryptologists to multiple clues, including a cool cryptics, which then leads them to the largest fictional cover-up in history. And the lead star has probably one of his worst haircuts for any movie he's ever made. The answer's in the chat. If you look down in the chat.
Inkling.
Well, I will give this to Brianna, Her Excellency Brianna. It is from the Da Vinci Code. It is the fleur-de-lis bank key. But look at that, you got 4. I mean, you got more than half. So there you go. I know you're proud. Right? I mean, that's why you're a Laurel, key. Anyway. I'm just vamping. Well, we're going to put this away because we don't need to look at that key anymore. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know as we prepare the kingdom to open back up, part of the thing that's really going to be helpful is feeling confident and comfortable approaching people that have questions and interest and getting them involved and showing how in this kind of new world, how they can step in and be involved and have as much fun as all of us seem to be having when we're in person. So if anyone has questions, I'm sure the first recommendation is to approach their local Chatelaine.
Yes.
But if not, you're available, your information is on the Kingdom website?
I am, and it is. Chatelaine at sca-caid.org is my office email address. And if anybody wants to hit me directly, Paul at cookgiles, COOKGILES.net is my personal address. And I'm happy to answer questions.
You're king of your own domain. See? Web domain. Internet humor. Anyway, thank you, my friend. It's awesome to see you. Say hello to your lovely husband.
I will.
And hopefully we will see you soon.
I look forward to that happy day.
All righty, my friend. Have a great evening. Thank you again. Bye-bye. All right. Well, that was fun. See, he didn't think he was going to get those questions, and
You
he
know,
did
I
awesome.
think that's the thing is that he may not necessarily be someone that's just like right in line to go see the newest blockbuster, but the fact remains that just osmosis, being around things long enough, and they kind of get absorbed. Like, oh, that key from Harry Potter. I mean, it's you know, it takes a special someone to not listen to any of that, to be able to block out the outside
Right.
world and not have any of it get a hold of you, I guess.
Right, and I'm sure Batistas, who's watching, would go, "Oh, they're talking about me," every time I asked. So I understand we have an amazing performer lined up for the bardic performance this evening. Who is that?
The folks that are going to be stuck with me, so we're already starting to rhyme, and so I will be the poet for the evening.
That was awesome. Alrighty, so you know what, Bjorn? Let's see if I can think of a question that I haven't asked you so far. Oh, I got it. Since we're talking about the celebration of the Kingdom opening back up in the SCA in general, what are, other than interacting in person with people, what are you looking forward to most in the next couple of months?
I would have said fighting, but because I'm gonna be getting cut open and stitched a couple more times, and I have to let myself heal, taking a body shot will be ill-advised. So instead of saying fighting, I am going to say just listening. I want to go to events, sit in my little chair, well, not so little chair, and I want to listen to everything going on around me. The fighting on the field, the people talking at Harold's Point, the folks that are going over things in lists, the calls and cries of the heralds, whoever is running court for their majesties. I just want to absorb all of that in, all of the ambient and secondary and tertiary sounds that we always take for granted. I just want to be able to sit there and soak all of that in, to remember, so many of us were in almost silence for so long, and just getting a chance to hear it again. That's really what I'm looking forward to.
That's an amazing answer. Now I have something I want to do too, because it's tough for me to sit in an event because I pace all the time. Anyway, wow, that's great. So Bjorn, I'm going to just turn the floor over to you. You can talk about what you're going to perform, and it's yours.
Thank you so much. So this last year, there aren't really enough words to adequately describe the various things that so many people went through. And even though right now we are on the cusp of once again going back into the things that give us joy, being in the presence of others, going to fighter practices, going to events with all the restrictions in place, it's still not real to some of us. I confess that even though I have the fortune of being on this show and talking to people that are in the know, and just the interactions that we have with all of the powers that be for the society, at the society level, at the kingdom level, at our local levels, even though I get a chance to hear that more than most folks, I still haven't really come to terms with it. And so I wanted to do two things. I decided to write a poem today that is an acrostic, and folks playing at home, remember the first letter of each line spells something out, so you have to figure out what it spells. And I wanted to write a poem about us starting up again, particular Caid starting up again. But before that, I wanted to do something period. And the second website we looked at today, something in original pronunciation. So there will be two poems today. So the first one is about in 1592 of the Common Era in London, there was an outbreak of the plague. And this caused a complete cessation of activity in downtown London, or on one side or the other of the Thames. In particular, it closed down the theaters, Globe in particular. We believe that in 1592, this was the time that Shakespeare wrote the majority of his sonnets. And one lesser known and lesser lived author in London at the time was a gentleman named Thomas Nash. And Thomas Nash wrote a piece called A Litany in the Time of Plague. And although this was published the year before his death in 1600, we know he performed it first for the Archbishop of Canterbury in 1592, right after the plagues had ravaged through London. And so this piece that I'll be performing, I am going to be utilizing original pronunciation. So, well, as best as I can, I will be using original pronunciation. So the pronunciation that was used during the time of Shakespeare, the dialect that was performed and spoken as it was spoken, as best as we can tell, thank you, Professor Crystal, to how it would have been heard by a person living in London in the late 16th century. So this is a litany in the time of plague, and it is by Mr. Thomas Nash. Adieu. Farewell, earth's bliss. This world uncertain is. Fond are life's lustful joys. Death proves them all but toys. None from his darts can fly. I am sick. I must die. Lord, have mercy on us. Rich men trust not in wealth. Gold cannot buy you health. Physic himself must fed. All things to end are made. The plague full swift goes by. I am sick. I must die. Lord, have mercy on us. Beauty is but a flower, which wrinkles will devour. Brightness falls from the air. Queens have died young and fair. Doth has closed Helen's eye. I am sick. I must die. Lord, have mercy on us. Strength stoops unto the grave. Worms fear on Hector brave. Swords may not fight with fate. Earth still holds open her gate. Come, come, the bells do cry. I am sick. I must die. Lord, have mercy on us. Wit with his wantonness tasteth death bitterness. Hell's executioner hath no fears to hear the vain Archon reply. I am sick. I must die. Lord, have mercy on us. Haste, therefore, each degree to welcome destiny. Heaven is our heritage, earth is but a player's stage. Mount we unto the sky. I am sick, I must die. Lord, have mercy on us. Sorry for that being so depressing, everybody. That wasn't the intent, but it kind of was, because the whole point of Nash's performance for the Archbishop was to remind him that it didn't matter who you are, it didn't matter where you were. If death came for you, it came, and that the Lord alone would have mercy. Sort of a reminder about regardless of your station, kind of a thing. So in a way, Nash was pretty gutsy to do that in front of the most powerful religious person, and perhaps in many ways the most powerful person. Well, Elizabeth might think otherwise, at that time. Now, this poem I'm going to do is hopefully a little less sad, because this is the piece that I wanted to write about Caid's resumption of activities within the known world, within the SCA. As I said before, this is an acrostic, which means that, spell it out. So folks, keep track at home. Caid returns from restless, fitful sleep, awash in budding promise, drive, and zeal. In person times to normal we shall creep, done first with caution, granting time to heal. So long ago it was when last we met, before times as they now are known to be. And though we try to minimize the threat, chary ye well all those beloved to thee. Keep masks for you and others close at hand. Follow the laws and statutes at each site. Obey the limits for enchanted land. Lead always, whether you serve, craft, or fight. Kingdoms across the known world will rejoice. Stay safe and noble with a common voice. Thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. And now Laertes comes back? Or not? So did anybody get a chance to spell out what that said? Anybody? Anybody? I said I had options, and one of them was Caid is back, baby. And I thought, that's probably not the best way to do an acrostic poem, an acrostic sonnet. So hopefully that one, Caid's back, folks, is still a little too folksy. I mean, it says folks in the title, but it's me. I mean, like I said, I'm from Anstior. We say folks all the time. And now I think Laertes might actually be back joining us. Unless I'm much mistaken.
I'm here. It dumped me hard. So
I think it was the depression. I think your computer was just like, screw this, Nash, we're all gonna die, game over. So that was probably it.
That was
Is he going again? Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that one of the most important things, if you can see me, that is, one of the most important things I've noticed about what we do on these shows, not just us, but the Bardic War this last 2 weeks, Between Two Peers, the Outlandish Tea, all of the known world Bardic circles, having good bandwidth. We should really push for universal fiber optics. I legitimately think that. I think that maybe now is the time to call. Well, no, there's a lot of other stuff going on. Hold off on calling your congressman. But let's get fiber for everybody. We want gigabyte Ethernet. Let's get that for everybody. And Laertes should be coming back again pretty soon. See, I was trying to even make this particular show shorter than normal since we're taking next week off, so you guys wouldn't have to deal with an overly long live from Caid show. I did my best. I tried to do my best, and I even did 2 pieces and everything. Thank you, Nico. I will do my best to preach on. I am the son of a preacher man, after all.
Can you see me?
I can. You're back. Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know what you spelled out. So what did you spell out?
I spelled out Caid's back, folks.
Okay, I got most of it. I missed the LKS. So, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with my bandwidth. I can watch it go up and down now.
Well, while you were gone, I was telling everybody to, after all the main stuff is done, write their congressman and insist on worldwide or at least nationwide fiber optic.
That's weird because I
use the time well.
Exactly. So while I'm still here, thank you everyone for joining us on the show. A big special thanks to Baron Giles Hill for joining us and let us know. But next week, we're off, but we will have something for you to watch. Content on, so you can kind of see behind the scenes on how we put this together. But 2 weeks from tonight, their majesties, along with the Kingdom Seneschal and Kingdom Exchequer, will be here talking about the path forward for our open kingdom, along with a couple of other special things we have planned to celebrate the reopening of the kingdom. And Beorn, do we have performers lined up for next month?
We do. We have a guest who's been with us before, one of the performers who was instrumental in the Eastern Alliance's pretty solid first-placed win for the Bardic War, and so Drake will be joining us again, and we're very excited to have him.
Oh, I love Drake. He's a good guy. Well, just a quick shout out to everyone that joined us on Friday or continued watching the game show of What Is It? The game show. We had a lot of fun. I want to thank everyone that was involved, both in front of the camera and behind it, to make it happen. We had a good time. And let us know.
By and large, we believe that His Grace Alexander only scarred a few score people.
If you want to learn about medieval sheathing, watch our show. Anyway, we're going to take a little bit of time off. I kind of looked, and in the past 15 months, we've taken off like 6 shows. So be sure to check out what we're going to show next week, and then we'll be back that first Monday. We'll see you in 2 weeks. But until then, Beorn, use this time to rest, my friend, and we'll see you when we're back.
Resting and watching my daughter graduate high school.
Yes.
So the little itty bitty girl, back at that all way back in that Defender of the Children, the March Hare days, that little girl is graduating high school. Crazy.
And I will see you, everyone else that's watching, we will see you in 2 weeks. And once again, we will be live from Caid. We'll see you then.